Welcome to From the Wing. We got another episode with Steve Jones. We're back. We're doing the thing again. We have a completed Cup final, an Emirates Cup final. It's Christmas time. It's gift buying time. The Pelicans lost again, but that's like the same as every week. Dyson called us cursed, and we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about that very, very disappointing Spurs ending. And then a little bit about like the current atmosphere of like how we talk about ball. We're going to do a little like fixing basketball media coverage, or really just like assessing, because I think we're doing the fixing by just being here. How you doing, Steve? How's it going this fine morning?
Doing well. Happy, healthy, getting in the spirit of the season. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Hope you're doing well, Adam. But I'm feeling good. I'm ready to attack.
Is ready to attack. Real quick, I'm curious because this is a thing for me. So like the adult version of Christmas right now, like we're in the thick of like that time period where buying gifts for people is like really stressful. Where I just, I don't know how I'm feeling about the whole, just like buying gifts as adults. There's so many kids. There's so many different family members. It's a lot of stress. I got to get like 30 things for all these people. How am I going to get them? Am I going to get them all in time? I don't know. Where do you fall on, like, are you just like completely happy to be around Christmas and presents and all that stuff? Or has this become like a stressful time of year for you?
Oh, it's stressful. But I think the biggest thing is like I build up the stress in my head ahead. And then I just go. And then once I go, everything just kind of works out. I don't know how to explain it. I kind of like Christmas blackout. And once I get in the zone of getting gifts, then the gifts are being gotten. But there is the stressful element. And you look back and it's like, okay, did I do enough? Did I do too much? But don't overthink it. Just go. Just go. Let the spirit carry you. Be responsible, but let the spirit carry you, because eventually it will work out. If you sit in your head too long, you will not only stress yourself out, you will just stay stressed out and not you'll miss the window. So I would just say
I am going to need to put you in touch with my wife to give her that same counseling session you just gave me, because that's the whole ball game right there. The whole ball game is like, what are we worried about? Everything's going to be fine. All these people love us, or at least pretend to. There's no need to fear. But it is a stressful time. Like, yes. I've found, and maybe it's like the toddler dadhood part of it, but it's tough out here. Like, part of me is like, can everybody just play Secret Santa so that we only have to buy 7 things? And then
see, here's the thing about Secret Santa and the White Elephant and all those games. 3 people go too hard. 3 people don't go hard enough. And then there's the in-between. And so someone brings like a dessert tray of all their favorite things they love, and another person brings like an electronic toothbrush, and it's like, wait, this is not a fair exchange.
If I told you that mine are driven by named wish lists, I'm curious where you fall on this too. Named wish lists from the present receiver. So like I get to say, this is the thing that I want. Does that like ruin the spirit of Christmas to you? Because that was new for me. I never did that as a kid, but as an adult, I'm around a lot of people that are like, I'm gonna just give you like 3 things and say, buy one of these, please.
The thought counts. I'm big on that, but I also am okay with someone saying this is what I would like, because now I know what you would like. And so it kind of takes a little bit of like the mystique away, but it also takes away a little bit of the disappointment, where you just miss the mark. And also sometimes you can just get creative with it. Like, I'll get one of these things you like, but also what about this? And then at least they're good. You've nailed part of it.
Is there one of these is starting to get a little carried away. We've gotten to the point where we've got like the $100 limit. It's been creeping up every year. Now we've got the $100 gift limit. It's just every year started at 50. Then one year, like, oh yeah, it should be 75. Now people are complaining that like $100 isn't enough. And I'm sitting over here like, $100 is, you'll be lucky if you get that. You're not even blood relatives. What are we doing? Maybe I don't belong in this group anymore.
Here's this gift card. You'll be fine.
that wish list may very well have products for the enhancement of this show on it. Because I'm going to take advantage of this. Anyway, during this holiday season, we are still brought to you by Crescent Canna, the highly satisfying and relaxing Crescent 9 THC Seltzer. I drank one of the ginger lemonades to go to bed last night. Woke up feeling splendid. Also, during this Christmas season, as we've talked about, we're going to talk about again. It is time. It's the 18th. You got 12 days, essentially, 13, to get into the store and buy any of your favorite flavors that are over 5 milligrams. That's my sour watermelon. That's the strawberry lemonade. That's the raspberry lime. All of your high potency products are going away January 1st, unless you want to be part of the outrage that helps maybe reverse that. Otherwise, your 5 milligram labels will all still be on shelves, but your sour watermelon is available at Conseco's, Rouse's, all of your local grocery stores right now. Go get it. Sleep better. This has become a thing where, like, if people are associated with me in my non-podcasting life, there's a lot of people that have benefited from being near me with this product that are now like turned on to this product, especially when it comes to the sleep. I do recommend to people like have it a little bit before bed because it's going to give you you're going to be like relaxed out. You want to be like laying horizontal shortly after, but the you're going to get. Like I was a whiskey guy. The sleep that you're going to get from this versus like having a couple of beers or having a glass of whiskey is just a completely different thing. You will not have any of the bodily after effects. You're just going to wake up feeling really well rested. And you're like, that is some of the best sleep I've ever had. That is like my primary use personally. That is not in the ad copy. That's just how I feel about it. But again, temp laws are changing January 1st. Anything above 5 milligrams will not be on the shelf any longer. Go out and get them now. Also, don't worry. We're going to be doing some things with the flavors and everything to make sure that like your favorite flavors are still around in the future. And also, 21 or older to drink. Consult your doctor, talk to your physician if you have any sort of condition, heart condition, health condition, really like anything that you're concerned about before consuming. And if you have any questions about it or about my personal experience with it, hit me up. I'm an open book. I am happy to share. Now, let's rip the Band-Aid off. Dyson Daniels called us cursed. Dyson Daniels came in and said the thing that like when your friend moves out of town and then talks about like what he didn't like about living there, like you just kind of feel dirty because you're like, you don't get to say that anymore. It kind of feels like that. It kind of feels like the person who doesn't live at home anymore being like, I really hated it when I lived there. But full context, his quote really wasn't that bad, but the clip part could have sounded like if you only heard the first line, mean, and you're just like, I don't remember Dyson being mean. What's happening here? But yeah, so Dyson calls us cursed. He says that organization's cursed. He told this to Mark Stein. Or did he tell this to Jake Fisher for Mark Stein's Substack?
I believe it was the latter.
I think it was Jake Fisher for Mark Stein's Substack. Let's get the credits right. He said, every year there's something new. I'm happy I'm not there anymore. If you stop right there, brutal. If you don't read anything else, that sounds brutal. I'm glad I'm not there anymore is hard. He goes on to say that he gets asked to further elaborate. He says, yeah, the curse, man. I had like 4 or 5 ankle injuries down there as well. There's something down in the water there or something. They got hamstrings, they got knees, they got concussions, and they got concussions and stuff as well. They get everything down there. I don't know what it is. Playing hard, I guess. So he like rounded back out to like hey, maybe we're just working too hard. So I appreciate the cleanup from Dyson there, but that first line, it hit on the internet. It touched me. And made me feel a certain way. And then I eventually found the whole quote. How do you feel about Dyson calling his former franchise cursed?
I mean, I think it's part of it is probably him having success this year to a degree and being healthy. And part of it is probably the historic nature of the Pelicans losing everyone this quickly to a degree. And so for me, I kind of took it as tongue in cheek, but I can understand how maybe it wouldn't land that way. So I guess I would ask you, is it the message? Was it the messenger? Was it Dyson saying what people think out loud? Confirming beliefs? Is that the issue?
So I can tell you that this is like the deepest insecurity of the Pelicans fan, that every time we've touched even like solid play, something has pulled the rug out from under us in short order. There has never been consistent winning here ever. And the original shin is George Shinn pulling the rug out from under Chris Paul after an amazing campaign. When the team first got here, he had an incredible team full of dudes like Tyson Chandler and like all his best buddies, Peja Stojakovic, and they're great. And then what do? We're literally selling the gym equipment to other people to pay bills. And then next thing you know, Tyson Chandler is headed on his way out of here. Like, that was the original thing where we're like, oh, they're great. Oh no, it's Rasul Butler. What's happening? Why are we doing this? And Rasul's a good player. He's a very good player. But when you're going from Peja Stojakovic, Tyson Chandler, to like David West and whatever's left, as the CP team to run with, yeah, it hits a little sensitive. It is also that it comes from Dyson too, because like he's like a quiet, like kind of mild-mannered dude, and a hustler, and I think we kind of perceive him as like a Herb Jonesian, just like solid, nice dude, and it felt like a little bit like we took a dart. So I think it's a little mix that we're afraid. Our deepest fear was discussed out in public and said by a guy that we wouldn't have expected it from. And like, you know, if I was salty, I might point out that while he's getting to the rim a lot and is one of the better rim finishing guards out there and is still the eminent defender he always has been, including with us, I might ask you to go look at any of his standstill jump shooting and tell me if anything's changed or if he's just in a bigger role playing next to Trae Young. But I'm not salty.
Oh.
So it's hard because it's him and because maybe it's the truth.
Well, I was gonna say is it's like if Devontae Graham or Josh Richardson had said this, would it be the same vibes?
We'd have laughed them out of here.
See,
would not have even. It's because we like him. We hurt the people we love. He loves them, and he hurt us.
This is the uncle at the holiday table. Someone made a joke about why the relationship ended. Cut a little too close to home.
This is dad meeting the girl for the first time, and within an hour giving you that disapproving face, and then after she leaves, he's like, "She ain't it." And you're like, "How do you know this? How could you possibly know already?" And yet somehow he's right every time.
I don't think the Pelicans are cursed. I think it's been an unfortunate thing. But before I get to that, is it because like the Jazz is in Utah? Is it because you kind of shared a team with Oklahoma City for like 2 years? Is it because you were the Hornets and then you weren't the Hornets?
You know, if we could just get some consistency of any kind, I think that'd be good. If we could just like lock in, and we do have some consistency. We're bad this year, which means we'll probably be like 40-ish wins next year, and then we'll be back to 20 or 30, and then back to 43.
I'm pulling something up real quick, and if I'm wrong, someone can correct me. But I'm scrolling very quickly, and there has not been a year where the Pelicans and the Bobcats Hornets have both been above 500 in the same season.
This is telling me that I should blame the gods, and that something evil happened in Charlotte. that came with the franchise. So now we've started a horror movie script. We've started a fan fiction here where the team traveled with this curse from Charlotte. So it's actually Charlotte's fault. We've got it. That's
There
it.
we go.
It's actually Charlotte's fault. Maybe it's the Utah Jazz's fault somehow, but it's definitely Charlotte's fault. And maybe we're cursed. But let's talk about the curse. Let's see, like, where are we currently relative to like a recently cursed team? I think Memphis last year was probably the most horrendous injury luck I have encountered in my lifetime. They literally no Ja Morant all year. Desmond Bane played half a season. Jaren Jackson played 60 plus games, and they definitely like sat him down and stuff while he just like got to play around and expand his game. Brandon Clark injured the majority of the season. He had been coming from the injury from the prior year. 33 different players logging minutes, finished with a record of 27 and 55, net rating of minus 7.1. So you're looking at that and you're like, okay, so like Kennard and John Conchar. So like I did enjoy like some Santi Aldama and some Conchar. Like I have a thing for these guys. I did like some Conchar, like Gigi Jackson going for like 31 one game and then 8 the next game. I enjoy that stuff. Vince Williams was like a heck of a thing to find. And we'll see if like he becomes like he looked like he was going to be like the guy you should be starting at power forward next to Jaren. Maybe you could do like him next to Jaren versus when Brandon Clark's healthy. Like you have a couple of looks where Clark plays the 5 and Jaren's the 4, and it's some things you could mess with there. Vince has been coming back from injury into this season, but they had a lot of things they found, and they look to have found a future in Gigi Jackson with just how easily he can score sometimes. And how many different ways he can score. So they lost 512 total games due to injury. The Pelicans currently have already lost 127 games to injury. 127. It is December 18th. The Pelicans only lost 153 total games to injury all of last year.
Oh.
They are 7% of all of the NBA's lost injury games this year. Funny enough, Memphis still pretty high on that list as well, though just got Ja back, and so like maybe that won't affect them like that. But right now, the Pelicans are on pace for like 15 and 67, and just a lot of dudes missing time. Some questions about like, should you even bring BI back to play again? 19 different players have already logged minutes relative to Memphis's 33 on the year. And they're on pace for 464 games lost to injury if everything continues on trend. I don't think we think it will. Dyson Daniels probably thinks it will. But I think we expect it to pace out better than that. But if it did happen to be 15 and 67, that probably puts you squarely in that top 3 for best odds, even in the flattened odds of the draft, and would match last year's Washington Wizards for the second worst record in the league. And this team has so much talent on it that I don't know how to cope with that sentence.
Well, if I can help, the Wizards have talent as well.
Yeah. They do now. I don't know how much they had then, but they do. It sounds like they're going to sell some of it. If I read another tweet about where Jonas Valanciunas is going, it will have been the 100th already. Like he's that dude's locked in everywhere. There's a million rumors of who's buying that big, but I think he knew that when he went there. I think that was like part of we know he's a backup big market, and like maybe he's a spot starter for a team in desperate need. But yeah, they got some people and things, and like Bilal Coulibaly can do some stuff, but Avdia was really good last year, and they were still losing games. Traded him away, but the Pelicans' talent level, like the guys that are missing these games, like the guys that have missed these games, are all their best players, and they are guys that I think the league believes in to a fairly large degree. Like any team in the league wants Trey Murphy. Any team in the league wants Herb Jones. Most of the team knows most of the league knows how they feel about DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum. I think where there would be the most debate is I think everybody knows what Zion's talent is, and there's more conversation about would you want to deal with that than anything else. So I think we are more talented than what has happened to us.
You definitely are, and I think that's shown over the last few games, at least when everyone's back. Some competitive matchups. You've kind of seen up and down play on both ends of the floor, but I mean, they haven't played a bunch of minutes together. I guess the biggest part is where does that take you as far as this season goes? Because it's purely your best players, and the team was built around these players. So what do you now do with that? Is it just, hey, Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, y'all have way more room to do things, and we balance the occasional CJ and DeJounte go off games, and hey, Brandon Boston's cool? Or are you able to kind of reshape and reform throughout the way? That's where my brain goes.
Because I think it takes us to Kasparov Jonas.
Oh.
I think that's where it's currently feels like it's taking us, and maybe it's too early to do that. I still feel like it's too early to talk about draft and tank and all that. Just talent level is really, really tough. But the further we get into this thing, 5-22, the 22 losses, losing that Spurs game the way that they do. Real quick highlight in the comp of the disastrous seasons of last year's Memphis Grizzlies and the Pelicans of this season. They shared minutes played by Jalen Noel and Trey Jemison. So we went to the same well to try to patch the holes in this boat. There are too many holes. But hey, we both tried Jalen Noel and Trey Jemison. There's a cool little factoid. Maybe Yves Missi maybe is our GG Jackson. I think he's better and more fitting for our needs than probably the duplication of GG in Memphis. And maybe Yves Missi is quietly building a Rookie of the Year campaign. Is it even quiet anymore? Maybe it's loud. Is it loud now? Is it getting loud?
See, here's the thing about this, right? Stephon Castle is a little loud. Jared McCain was loud until he unfortunately got hurt. Zach Edey's back. Jalen Wells exists.
You're saying names here.
Bub Carrington.
I do love Bub. I'm a Bub guy. I'm a big Bub guy. I don't think there's enough of a role for him there. I think Bub's already out of the running just because of what they're doing there, what the role's going to be. Because we know what this is. Unfortunately, this award is very often, unless it's a huge talent gap, this award is very often not who do you think the best rookie is. It is who had a large role, put up numbers, and is also good. Who had the best story of output. And I think that would have been Jared McCain had he not gotten hurt. I think he was probably leader in the clubhouse for everyone. Stephon Castle is coming on now as he's feeling more comfortable. He's also playing a ton of minutes. He's playing north of 30 minutes. The shooting is still he's scoring a good bit. The shooting percentages are not incredible. I don't know that we have to go all the way to oh, he's Jimmy Butler. I think that was my high end of what Stephon Castle maybe the dream of him is the Jimmy Butler guy, the guy that's a little underestimated because he doesn't have the very, very visible athletic advantage, but he's just going to outwork you and can kind of do everything, defend at a high level, make a lot of different kinds of shots, can be primary sometimes. I like him, but I think it is a 2-dog race right now. So you can take your Zach Edey and your Jalen Wells. Jalen Wells is fun. It's cool that they found him. It's nice that Zach Edey's back. I will not be shocked at all if Zach Edey still has his foul troubles and still has all of the express issues that a lot of us, I will not proclaim to be the only person that had Zach Edey concerns coming out of the draft because obviously I was not. But I was definitely worried about Is he going to sleep on me over here? He doesn't want to hear any of this. I didn't love the things that you'd have to sacrifice to be a Zach Edey team. And I wanted whoever did it, whoever pulled that Band-Aid, the higher you selected that guy, I wanted it to be how you run your second unit with him. Like when you draft him, your whole second unit should be the Zach Edey second unit, where you are going to go do the post-creation stuff. You're going to go down there and use his size. You're going to slow the game down. You're going to want to play that way. If you could do that, then you could really, like, I thought he'd be runaway rookie of the year. I thought he would.
Oh.
And I think we've seen some of the limitations of trying to be high-flying turnover team that also has Zach Edey.
So here's my thing, right? I think the problem for Yves' Rookie of the Year campaign is not his fault. It's going to be a volume deal, Adam. What Stephon Castle does is loud to people to a degree. Highlight adjacent, scoring, drives, impactful, next to Wemby, might see more Spurs things. The other problem is if Donovan Clingan also gets healthy and just keeps playing, he's going to block shots. And people are going to look at the block shots and be like, wow, he's having a huge impact. It's going to be louder. I know you don't want to hear it. I'm going to get booed. If Zachary Richeche can just put together a series of weeks where he just shoots the ball decent, that the Hawks these are things that could have happened. So I think Yves Missi is for sure all rookie first team. I am concerned about the volume level. I'm concerned that if people will recognize the impact, or if he just kind of gets put in the "this is nice, your team is not very good" bucket.
So that is definitely the concern. The star power is not playing. However, the highlight reel for him, if we go highlight reel for highlight reel, the stuff that Missi does and how athletically eye-popping it is, if we market him well, listen to me, this is Pelicans PR guys. Hear us out. What we've done in the past for award campaigns. Just send Yves' highlight reel, dazzle it up, put some editing on the front end, little intro, outro, some nice music, get a local artist on there, and send that video to everybody. Send them like some fun kind of gimmicky merch, like you always do. I have an Anthony Davis unibrow bag in here somewhere that had like a report card, and it was like you open the report card, and it was like him getting graded for MVP. So they do this. Do this for Yves Missi, and I defy people not to vote for him. His highlight reel, the dribbling to the rim to yam on people, some of the passes that he has made that I did not expect him to make in 3 years, much less in the first 20 games. The blocks, like we can talk about Clingan and, setting up an entire town in the paint for 30 minutes at a time. But Yves Missi is rolling out of help and is attacking guards with offhand timing that, like, his blocks are something to deal with too. So I would put his highlight reel up against anybody. I think it's between him and Castle, really. I do think, like, if we're being honest, if I'm not joking around, I think it's him and Castle right now, unless something seismic changes.
I understand. What happens when they send the Connect 4 marketing?
I point them to his own fans' tweets.
Oh, well,
that's what we do. We just send them over to Lakers Twitter to see how they feel about Dalton Connect right now, because the last couple of weeks haven't gone well.
Oh, excellent stuff.
It's interesting. It's interesting how everybody, the biggest phenomenon, the easiest thing in the NBA, and this is just always going to be the case. We have different levels of fans. We have fans that watch like individual plays and see actions open up. Like I graduated to this level of fandom. It took a long time. I had to learn from people like you, like how to spot when a certain thing was happening, was a trend defensively. Like I had to learn how to do that. A lot of people, especially in this city, are not going to learn that. They're going to watch the ball go in the hoop and say more points versus less points. guy hit a lot of shots. He must be really good. That's your general NBA fan is that guy. So it's really easy to get hyped about Dalton Knecht when he's shooting, 47% from the 3-point line. And then all of a sudden the shots stop going in. And the Knecht conversation is very different. Because I think ISO scorer, like dribble in transition, pull up on guys, or just making outlet threes. Yeah, Dalton Knecht was always going to be able to do that. As soon as that's not happening, tell me what he does. And that was the scary proposition. That is part of it. It's like, is this dude going to initiate offense for you? No. Is he going to be like a top end defender? No. So that sounds like a bench guy or like the fifth best player in your starting five because your other four are great and he's just out on the arc. And I think they've learned that recently. So I think that Knecht 4, it'll be cute. It'll be cute. And he'll slot in right there around 8th or 9th.
So it's Castle and Missi. That's it.
Yeah, I think so. So let's talk about the Spurs game. The Pelicans are competing really, really heavily with the Spurs. They're toe to toe. They're making a bunch of shots. They're playing decent defense. Wemby goes out for a little window in the first half. We're all praying he doesn't come back into the game. He does come back into the game. And then, it's a dogfight. It's Pel Spurs trading possessions, trading makes. Trey Murphy has a great two-way game. Just the defensive level from Trey Murphy, I'll have to say, starting to resemble how the final 10 games of last year played out. And I was coming into this year looking at him and his development. There's people all over the map on Trey Murphy in terms of what they think he's going to be. And I have always been just like trying to get people not to rush him. Like just let him be good at the things he's already good at because it's already great. And we can ease into the talk of ball handling and driving the rim and all those things. Like we can get there. But the thing that changed for me last year is I saw high-end defense. I'm trying to rival this guy Herb that's out here level defense. And now that cat's out of the bag, I want to see that more often. And that level is starting to show up. And so now we can start talking about like what is Trey and what is Trey going to be. And maybe he's the Jaren Jackson this year that gets to expand everything he does in this swath of sadness. Maybe he goes and gets some 30-point games where he's driving around defenders and really, really attacking closeouts. And also like relocating and taking step back threes and knocking down 6 of 8. That's shown up. That did not show up for DeJounte Murray in this game. And he had a bit of a rough one. Indecisive, lots of turnovers, just felt out of rhythm the entire game. In the fourth quarter, Pelicans get down 13. CJ McCollum then decides to go to war with Father Time and lands a couple haymakers. Bucket after bucket after bucket. CJ just claws the team back to a final possession, make it take the game. And we've got, I think we had like 11 seconds on the clock. And CJ is dribbling the ball to half court. We do not call a timeout. So we have not been calling timeout during this set. Like during this run, CJ has just been taking advantage of him and cooking them. And you're hoping that ball is in his hand to close out the rest of that game. Sadly, he kicks it over to DeJounte at the top of the key, dribbles into the paint a little bit, something that had already happened like 5 times in that game, kind of got stuck in no man's land, wasn't sure what he was going to do with the ball. Ball comes off his hand, stolen, super anticlimactic. We don't even get a shot off in that final clock after CJ just made like 5 buckets in a row. And you're looking at it and going, well, damn, that's not how I wanted that to go. And I think it harkens back a little bit the theory of DeJounte Murray being here. And I'm curious how you perceive, like, do you look at that performance and say that's indicative of like who he's always been? And so that should just like be a concern moving forward? Or do you lay on the context of who's missing and the scenario he's in, the fact that he broke his hand and is only playing in like his 8th or 9th game? does that context kind of water down any negativity associated with his fit?
For me, it's the context for me. I think when you have two talented guards like CJ and DeJounte, you're going to have these moments. I think we've seen them a couple times during this recent stretch, non-Indiana Pacers game included. But you have moments where DeJounte lifts the tide for a little bit and brings you back in. And now, okay, do I have it? I don't have it. We have CJ. Now CJ goes. It's hard to put them together in action to a degree. It's not quite the Paul George Kawhi dilemma, but they are both similar sized. And teams are either going to have people they feel comfortable guarding either one of them, or switch and put size. You're not going to gain the advantage using them together, so you kind of have to use them in a wave. And the wave is going to be like they're both guards who can drive, guards who can score, they're buckets. How often are they going to get two on the ball? That gets tricky. And then you kind of have to count on them getting to their spot and boogieing and making it work. And so you saw Spurs game. You knew DeJounte was going to take shots in that game. Revenge aspect. But then you see moments in Sacramento where it's like, okay, CJ's cooking. It's like, oh, DeJounte's giving him the ball. Oh, DeJounte did the DeJounte thing, which is I'm going to get to my spot and try and score a basket. And so you kind of have to, and I always kind of get yelled at for this, but to get the good version, you have to take some of these hits to a degree. So if and if you've seen Atlanta at all before DeJounte got traded, DeJounte won them some games. Clutch buckets, get to the spot, everyone's yelling, rah.
Defensive level of the team last year. We talked about that a little bit on this pod. If you go look back at the stats, like during the DeJounte run, that whole team defended at a much higher level. They went from like 23rd in the league defensively to 11th with DeJounte at the helm. And like there was some intensity brought there that affected them on both ends, like no doubt. Brought some dog.
Yeah. And so you have those moments and you just kind of have to, you got to balance it in my opinion. I don't like, part of it is with DeJounte is, okay, what are they running consistently? And the context of the team and the coverages he's getting, what plays is he supposed to create at times, if that makes sense. If I'm looking at DeJounte, even CJ, it baffles my mind how he's been this good for this long and teams have just consistently said, drop. Doesn't matter what you do, bud. Drop. We're playing drop. Here's your space. And it's like, how, like he's a two on the ball type player, but because of context, it's like, well, I mean, you make the shot or not. We're going to stay at home. We're going to have help. We're going to help on the roll. So it's on you to make the shot. I think DeJounte is kind of in that same boat to a degree. It's where, okay, drop or a late switch. Now you're either going to boogie or you're going to drive or you're going to take this mid-range pull-up. So I think that's probably one of the tougher parts when you watch the Pelicans is now they're in a context where teams are just comfortable playing a certain way. And you see the possessions where, okay, CJ drives, kicks to Trey. Trey drives, kicks to Herb. Looks good. Drive, kick, hold. Drive, kick, hold. Drive, kick, wait. ISO boogie. That's where it gets tricky for New Orleans right now.
Yeah, so again, inspired by analysis like yours on the timeline, this is one of those things where, like, as you mature as a fan, you start to see different things. I do not look at this and go, oh, I have all the DeJounte Murray concerns. I don't even look at this and say I have CJ concerns. I look at this and say, this is not what this starting five was supposed to look like. Teams are very comfortable because, like, as good as DeJounte Murray is, as good as CJ still is, and as good as Trey Murphy is, they do not bend defenses in a way that Zion Williamson does just by breathing. Zion sucks people towards him because they are afraid he can take off from anywhere and dunk. And that means the whole way that the defense sets up and the way that they react before he even touches the ball is different. You do not have advantage creators. So you said two on the ball. We do not have advantage creators out there in isolation. DeJounte Murray can do some of that. If he gets a mismatch, he can get around a guy. He can split a double. He can do some of those things. He can do them better than Brandon Ingram can. I'll absolutely give him that. We have seen CJ's athleticism start to wilt a little bit, but we still know that like the context that CJ should be playing in. We know we wanted him to move more towards a 6-man cooking backups, come in and play a rotation with starters and just burn the nets down and do those little baseline drives where you shoot it from the little shot put from 8. Like make those CJ buckets. If you get the opening, run from your left, switch to your right, and finish with your offhand. Like he does that stuff, and he's doing it right now. But I think this goes to like why a timeout doesn't get called in that final possession. They can't break down a defense that is set when the defense is like any type of big or long. And they know that. So it was like the better alternative was attack the defense that's not set and just take what they're giving me. And DeJounte, for not making them, had a couple opportunities in that same quarter where like that little, like just south of the elbow, that little pull-up jumper right there was open. Like I know where he was going. That's a comfortable shot for him. He likes to take it. He's taken it in a lot of games. I think I understand not calling the timeout because like I'll just be honest about the team. I don't think these guys can break down like an intense pressing defense. If they get that double, like I'm nervous that they won't even make the pass out of the double. And that's a 3-year problem, not a 1. That's been something that's been going on here because we've been kind of piecemealing the point guard role here because of who the stars have been. And here we are. So I think for me, it's the same thing. It's like the context is dynamically like kind of opposed to what your expectations for some of these players are.
And I think it shows in like kind of what they run and when they run it. The Pelicans have had a base. You can debate on if you like the base the last few years, but they've had a base. Brandon Ingram, his playmaking has been better than people give him credit for. Zion is Zion. You can also mix things in. Now you look at the Pelicans and we can get movement. We have Trey and CJ. What does it generate for everyone? We can go pick and roll with DeJounte and CJ handling. What does it generate for everyone? Some of the Herb stuff that we had seen as far as him initiating, can we do that now? Why are we doing that now? Some of the, are we playing through Yves or is he just going to screen and roll? Like, I think there's a push and pull sometimes offensively combined with we get a stop, let's flow into something, let's play type beats. That makes it interesting for everyone. So I think that's why you get some of the uneven play, where one night it's the whole starting lineup's in double figures. The other night it's CJ has 30 or DeJounte has 27 or Trey Murphy has this game. And I think they're trying to find the balance for everyone to kind of eat, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think objectively we feel pretty good about like the Yves Missi thing. I keep saying Yves. It's just Yves. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's Yves Missi.
Come on, Adam and Eve.
I mean, I did the Christmas Eve thing last time. I'm going to do it again when we get to New Year's Eve. I'm going to keep doing this. It's just too easy. We're happy with Yves Missi. I think Trey is now like rounding into the two-way form that you hope for. Herb has come back and immediately looked like Herb Jones. So the pieces that now are rumored to be the only foundational ones, which I think we talked about. I think before the team put that out there, or leaked that out there, we hypothesized that like the guys worth keeping, the pillars, are the two wings and Missi, and everything else is kind of up in the air. I think DeJounte on his contract is worth keeping around. I think Brandon Boston, for who he is and what he is, like deserves run. I think he's shown you enough in both directions that like you need to find out what else is there, and he needs to be on a real contract. Dependent on like what happens next. Like, do they make these deals? I've been a proponent of a Brandon Ingram move away from New Orleans since the summer. I saw a Trey Murphy extension coming, and I'm like, Brandon is not part of your long term because you're gonna give Trey that money. You're not going full blown out tax on this team. You're not. Like, it's not worth doing. It's not a good decision to do. That means Brandon's gone. As soon as we start the year and he's still here, the talent is undeniable individually. The fit was going to be terrible. We knew it was going to be terrible in the summer. We were worried about it all summer, to the point where, like I mentioned last episode, I was ready for the John Collins show. Like, I was ready to do it. And now I'm ready. I'm ready for the Zach Collins show. I'm ready for all the Collinses. Because
are you?
Yeah. I'm sad to report it. Like, breaking news, I'm ready to move on, because I think the market's gonna be real bad. And I just don't want to wait and see him walk off into the distance. I don't think that's a thing you can even let happen. And now that you're 5-22, yeah, you probably need to be talking about this and thinking about it, like really pivoting to, flag Harper, Bailey, Yakachonis. I'm getting out here in the streets with Yakachonis. I'm getting all the way out here and just saying it. I'm going to be pronouncing that at an elite level, just right out the gate. I'm ready now. We might be having a big board on here soon, because we're getting there. We're getting to that point already in the middle of December. I've silenced him.
Well, I can't offer much cope. But the Raptors won 2 more games than y'all,
I thought you were offering a little cope.
Yeah, that's true. My bad.
That was the Raptors won 2 more games, and now the Raptors are going to lose a bunch because Scotty Barnes is hurt, and Scotty Barnes is like a real hardcore all-star breakout player right now for them. So like, they have something to be excited about. And I don't know if I can be excited about the most talented people on my team. And that is hard. And we are coping every day. Anyway, all right. I'm going to shift topics. We're going to slide over and talk about, like, being in these situations, talk about cope, and in terms of like having these conversations around the NBA. Sam Vecini had a tweet over the weekend about the general coverage of the NBA by its media partners, and how that has impacted the game over not even just the last few years. It's been like the last 6, 7, 8 years that we've gotten into a place where it's very comfortable to mock players, mock teams, drag guys. And it's just what's popular on the internet. It's what's consumable. It's what people like. We joke around on here, but this is the thing that I hate doing. I'll drag like an individual guy, like as a joke. I do not ever want to be in the business of feeding bias and ragging on guys that are more talented at this one thing that I'm never going to be at anything. I don't need to have the fire the coach episode, because he knows more about basketball than I do. I want to try and add to the product. I want to give you like I'm just trying to create a little pocket where like people that are looking for coverage like I look for have a home. I'm not a full-blown analytics guy. I do like to talk about the draft. I like to talk about transactions, but I don't want to live there. I want to remember the context. I want to bring the nuance. I want to have like difficult qualitative conversations. So I'm curious, like, where do you fall on that map? Amin El-Hassan has said this for years too, that he believes that that media coverage, specifically from the NBA's partners, has been damaging. Do you feel like that's true? Is it something that you think should change, or selfishly, are we kind of happy it happened because it opened up a lane for us?
Excuse me, a little bit of everything. I think for me, there's a lane for a whole bunch of stuff when it comes to basketball talk. Like, I've never been the type of person that says you have to think like me or you have to share my opinion. I want to give you the information, and you take it however you want. But hopefully you've learned something, or it's added something to your basketball experience, or it helps you watch the next game. For me, the game's always been the story. Like, there's narrative stuff, there's agenda stuff, there's joke stuff, there's transaction, there's front office talk. There's a lot of room for everyone to kind of operate. But I feel like it's gotten a lot easier to be a little mindless about it. And so you see like a push and pull where, for me, I noticed specifically like on social media, people used to ask me questions. I used to have good discussions. and now it's people pushing back or being like, hey, this wasn't all that. This is which is fine. But like you see it over and over and over again. It's a pattern. So for me, it's like, okay, why would I learn more when I can feel like I'm an expert? If that makes sense. Why would I?
That dynamic right there. I think you just nailed it with that sentence, but keep going.
But I mean, that, like, why would I view you as something when I know this and I can get validation from this opinion? And I think you combine that atmosphere with, you know, you look at the superstars in this league, and guys started to get speed run to a degree, to where it was like you had your legacy acts to a degree, and you had people like, are they going to win the big one? But we kind of run through that a lot faster now. Like, think about the talk about Jason Tatum. Think about talk about Devin Booker. Think about talk about Anthony Edwards. Like, you look down the standings. Look, talk about Zion, Ja. Everyone has been run down to a degree by some person, and so all these arguments result in, okay, so is anyone good? Is anyone like a good basketball player? If you've run through all the stars and you look at the matchups, then of course, if you called Giannis a fraud and you called Shea a fraud because you like Dallas, what are you going to do in the NBA Cup Finals in Milwaukee and Oklahoma City? You can't appreciate it because this is my stance. This is my opinion. This is how I feel. Okay, but what if you're wrong? Well, then I'll just wait till I'm right. Okay.
Or you'll just go and be confidently wrong about Giannis showing a double. I saw that tweet. I saw that tweet.
And look, dude, don't get me started on the reply people. That y'all are sick, and I'm gonna keep replying.
It's always a purchase check mark, and it's always got numbers in the name, and that was tough. Like, yes, he showed it was just so transparent. I just laughed at it and moved on. Because like, I've got no patience for that. Like the reply guy, especially with the well actually reply guy, which that one was a clear case of the well actually. And the idea, like, that person does not know that they highlighted that they don't understand basketball by saying what they said.
That's the fun part.
He absolutely showed a double, and it was to make Shea make a decision. And Shea immediately rolled offhand to the baseline and attacked the basket. And it, like, yes, they showed him, his eyes saw a gigantic 7-footer who's one of the best defenders of our lives close out his right hand. And it's like, okay, you're in a box now. Did Giannis have to go all the way up to him and put his arms over his face for that decision to be forced? No. Just by putting his arms up and turning his body to fence off the sideline, he did what he needed to do. And Shea instantly, and this is the thing that I hate about that man, because he is an incredible basketball player, Shea never makes a wrong decision ever. He never makes a wrong decision ever. Even when the decisions are layered and there's 3 or 4 different things, and I didn't mean to make this a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander show, but every time the man is shown anything, he will somehow get a high-quality shot off. He rarely, if he turns the ball over, it's because, like, he lost his dribble. Maybe you got to steal because you were riding his pocket. Like, maybe. But for the most part, you have to be just as afraid he's going to generate contact with you and get to the line. So you're not defending him as aggressively as you might somebody else because he's going to game you. And him and Jalen Williams as a duo just frustrate the hell out of me because it just seems like they never make the wrong call. Jalen may not be a pure point guard or anything like that. Like, he may not be that guy. He has his flaws. He's more of like a strength driver. Like, I'm going to turn the corner on you because you can't contain me physically. You really want him to be shooting those 3-pointers and just live or die with that scenario and hope they don't go in. But those two just seem to always diagnose it right. And you just pointed out that he did, and something like as innocuous as that, just highlighting that Shea Gilgeous-Alexander made a great immediate recognition call and got a bucket. against elite defenders. And that was a well, actually. An epidemic of fake expertise is what happened over the last few years. An epidemic of confidence, of unjustified confidence, has run rampant on society.
This is this era, but you gotta just understand it and put the things out that the people like and be confident in it. I mean, I just think for a lot of people, it's a lot easier to have a conversation about something that I feel like I know about than to feel like I'm going to be wrong or feel bad about my thought. Like, I just think that's the era we live in. So if I can look at a box score and Tyrese Halliburton shot 5 of 17, well, see, I told you he's a bum. So I can just keep that conversation there based on the facts I have. I don't have to learn anything. I don't have to feel silly or dumb about myself. I can argue and someone will either back me up or I can just go back and forth. You can do that. You know, why talk about DeJounte Murray? I mean, he's bad. He's a bum. We've seen he's a bum. But you notice you just devalue these players over and over again. Like, I look at the Julius Randle conversation, the Julius Randle talk, and the Julius Randle talking points. And not to stray too far from the beaten path, but like, Julius Randle's been pretty good for Minnesota. Like the Russell Westbrook talk, everything that he carries with him, he's been pretty good for Denver. But you don't have to recognize that if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I feel like that's too often the case. And I call it it's the Rudy Gobert corollary, man. It's the Rudy Gobert tennis match that used to happen forever. Rudy Gobert's the best defensive player ever. No, he's not. And then when he does good things, one crowd cheers. And then when he did bad things, gets cooked, the other crowd boos. And it's just an endless back and forth that will never end. And it's only gotten worse. So those are my 2 cents.
Your 3 cents. I have a husky crying in the background. I have no idea if she's on the mic. I'm curious. I'm going to pause for a second. Nothing?
Nope.
Okay. It's if you've ever seen husky like video accounts on like Instagram and stuff with like dogs that are howling like they're talking. That's what she's doing right now downstairs. She's frustrated. Mom left. But yeah, so like this is kind of the thing. Like it's easier to be lowest common denominator, and lowest common denominator sells. And so like more people have the incentive to go that direction and to be lazy. But like a little like behind the scenes, the only reason that you're sitting on the other side of this window right now is because of authentic interactions between us. Like, I was authentic with you and vice versa, even though we meet via Twitter and NBA fandom. And now you're here. And if I was that guy, you wouldn't be here. Like, if I was one of those people, I don't think you'd be here, because I don't think that's the kind of conversation that you're about. But like, that's the thing. I know I don't know, and I want to learn more. I'm here because I love it. I want to talk about it because I love talking about it. But I also know that like most people know it better than me, and it's okay. I don't have to be an expert on everything. I am not. I'm not an expert on basketball. I am a more diligent fan than most. I do like to learn a lot, and I have learned a lot of things over the years. But I'm a medical operations guy. I can tell you more about Medicaid, Medicare reimbursement, CPT coding, and the financial wherewithal of hospitals and patient care. That I am actually an expert in. This I'm an expert being a fan, and I can let people be in their lanes, and I'm cool with that. I'm not smarter than you, and I don't need to be, and that's cool. And I think this is also something. I have a rule of thumb with Twitter and Blue Sky and social media in general. I definitely hold less value for accounts that don't have a person or an actual person's name involved, because you're anonymous, and I think that makes it easier to be a version of yourself you wouldn't be in person. So I struggle with that a good bit. But there's also I have also like just made a ton of friends, like authentic, real human friends, from just loving this stuff the same way. And we got guys like every flavor is out there for the coverage that you want. You can go get any part of it and find the guy. If you want the Stephen A talk, go watch that. That's fine. It's not for me. That's not made for me either, because I'm not home at 9 a.m. Watching ESPN. Like I'm at work. I'm in the office. So that it's not built for me. So I think they're right. Like in summary, I think, Sam and Amin and all the people that have brought this up over the years and the comments you just made, I think they're right. I think we've proven in a lot of arenas that we're getting lazier in our production and consumption of like the main products around everything sports. It's getting like watered down to make it more consumable. But that also has led to a rise in the nuanced takes of like shows like ours. Like shows like yours. It created lanes for us to go do the things that we used to love getting from like NBA sports and like the real hardcore journalists. HBO Sports, the weekend summary of what had happened during the week. A show that could never happen now because you have to have a take 3 seconds after the game ends.
I'll be a positive Patty here, though, because I will say it's more the volume, the level, the noise of the negative seems like it's a lot louder. But there's a lot of great work. And that's been one of the fun things for me because I've been doing this for a while now, I guess you would say. You see more people grow and more content grow. And you see stuff like I do or I did be spread out to individual teams. And so if you like that kind of stuff, and now you can go to your local Pelicans person and they will deliver a version of that for you with something else. You can go to, shout out to Caitlin. You can go see Pacers stuff. You can go understand more about a team. It's out there. I just think the loud nature of the negativity makes it feel like it's not. But there's really good stuff out there that people do and put their heart into. And I would just encourage people to find that.
Completely agree. I think that's the take. That's the one to send us off on. And what that means is find us. Selfishly,
yeah.
You won't say it this way. I'll say it this way. Find us. Find Dunker Spot. Find Caitlin Cooper. Find everybody. Find Sam Vecini. Like, go to the same places. Like, look, Sam is my draft guy at this point. I know from following him for years that the work that Sam does around the draft and how much and how often he's looking at those players and what he's thinking about and who he's talking to, he is giving me the right frame of mind to discuss prospects. And so like now he has become the most reliable. I used to read and listen to everybody. It used to be a little bit of Wasserman, a little bit like I mix everybody in. And then I'd watch the games and be like, okay, here's the things they told me were concerns. Here's the stuff that I do like. Now, like, Sam's kind of my guy, and carved out that lane and has an active conversation. Like, anytime I want to tap into what's going on, like, on the court, what are the skill transitions that are going to be a worry? Like, that's the dude I go to. So, like, find your Sams, find your Steve Joneses, find your Nekias Duncans, find Caitlin Cooper, find us at From the Wing. Find our guy. Shout out to Schmidt Dua locally. Look, he a competitor in the same space covering the Pelicans. Had a great conversation with Keith Smith about our cap situation and trade scenarios. Absolutely go check us both out because he's going to give you something that I'm not doing. I'm not as concerned about, tax and trade incrementalism as much, but you do need to know, like, what is the context the Pelicans are about to enter? What does this deadline look like for them? And I think that episode was a great primer. Keith is a resident Pelicans ball knower. He's on the list of Pelicans ball knowers that exist outside this market. And it's a great conversation. So if you want to know what the trade talk and what the cap situation looks like, and what are like the drivers behind the decisions from a business side, that episode's out there for you. And I don't need to take away from it. That's a lane. It's a good lane, and I'm probably not going to go that far into it. So go check them out. Give them the tap, give them the like, give them the subscribe, and then go give us one. Little like, little subscribe. We just spread the positivity. We're going to create an economy of positivity around the Pelicans. We're going to try to lift some boats. Let's just like raise the tide, lift all the boats. And I kind of wish the larger media products would also do this. Would just like, I just want to celebrate it a little bit more again, and just like get back to like, I kind of missed the hardcore storyline. Quick wrestling tangent, and then we'll get out of here. This was an epidemic in pro wrestling as well. Short stories that end too fast, that didn't have a long arc. It was something we were struggling with for a long time. Basically, the entire back half of the John Cena tenure, as we struggled to write real long-term stories, and all of the best stories in pro wrestling have lasted a year and change, or at least 6 months, and they build all the way to the semi-annual or the WrestleMania conclusion. And then finally Bloodline happened, and we really we got back into 90s long layered storytelling where there is just still meat on the bone, and that is possible for basketball too. So acknowledge your stars. Acknowledge your stars. Let's accentuate that even in that Spurs loss, that CJ punched Father Time in the face and showed you that the way that we talk about his contract is disgusting. That, you know, these people that are like, oh yeah, you got to pay to get rid of him. Like, whoa. CJ is still an incredible player, and his defensive output this year has actually been like worth discussing. The shot blocking and the steals showed up last year, and we were like, wait, he doesn't do that. Here we are again, and he's doing it again. Let's, we're going to try to highlight the positive, especially in a very, very dark year for the Pelicans. That maybe it gets a little brighter. What is brighter? Is 30 wins brighter, or is 15? I don't know. We'll find out together.
And stop talking about DeJounte Murray like he's Jimmy Uso.